Boom. You're live, it says. Actually, it's the audio. Well, hopefully the audio is coming through. We'll soon see. That's if anybody joins the live. What are we? It is midday. Yeah, it's around midday today on the Thursday, the 13th of August. First, shout out to, geez, what's his name? He's been on the social media, popped up once a pilgrim. Andy White has put a post on Instagram about the bro Trooper Brown. Where are we? Let's just need to bring that up. Excuse me. Bloody hell, this thing's running slow as. Get the fella's name right because I didn't know him personally, but once a pilgrim. Let's go to that page. Andy White. Just looking for his posts. Man, internet is slow as. Oh, well, we'll see how this live goes with the way this internet is going. Full bars. Must be a bloody Temu net. Still loading. I don't know how that's going to go then with the way that's going, if that's taken so long just to load this simple page. There he is. Let's click on that. Where is he? I don't want to just call him Trooper Brown. I want to go by his blanking first and last name. There's some guys and comments and stuff in here that knew him. Jason Brown. So rest in peace to that fella. From what I can see in the post, it was Friday 13th of August, 2010. 16 years, never forgotten you, bloody legend. Rest in peace, mate. That's from Andy White, once a pilgrim. And I'm sure there's been a number of other posts that have been put up as well about this guy. Where's the bloody name again? Jason Brown. So rest in peace to that fella. Yeah, good to know that, you know, guys like Andy and those that served with Trooper Brown remember him and think of him. And from what I've read in some of these comments here, First Strike Consultancy, Boss, Ari Boss, there's a number of people that have got just really good memories of Jason Brown and the type of man that he was. So shout out to him and his family. Rest in peace, brother. And yeah, Lincoln, what's the saying? Till we meet again. So minimize that, close that. So that's that. Bloody hell, apologies if the audio isn't coming through. This bloody thing is going slow as. What's this? No longer representing New Zealanders. Ralph Watt. Not sure. What are you talking about, Ralph? What's the context, bro? If you're still on there, that is. You may not be. Ralph Watt 8752. No longer representing. And then the next comment is New Zealanders. You mean you're no longer representing New Zealanders, or what's the story? Dun, dun, dun. Nothing in there. No other response. Anyway, that's all right. Where's those questions? Actually, so got that. Shout out to, I think I put it in the, what's the name? Actually, I'll just go to his message. I put it in the comments of, or the description, I should say, of this video, of this live anyway. Yeah, Ralph Watt still has got nothing else to say. That's okay. So I received this message and I put it into the description of this live. It says here, bro, I watched your live during my break early hours this morning. LOL. Hard case solving the country's political issues. Must have been a long break, bro, if you watched it. Hard case solving the country's political issues from your armchair. Ha ha ha. You should do some comedy videos of politicians not answering the questions that get put to them. Ask your followers for a list of questions or do a search for New Zealand government press conferences and do a spin off of those. Haha. Or you could just ask ChatGPT to give you some questions and do it that way. That's a good suggestion, actually. I did do that. Anyway, mean channel, bro. I had a good laugh. I listened to the rest on my way home from Mahi. So when I mentioned must have been a long break if you were watching the live that I did, which went into early hours this morning because I started it late. But yeah, sounds like you listened to it on your way home. Keep up the good work. I love the military reaction videos that you do, but I enjoy your down to earth korero about political topics as well. All the best, Chur. Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you for the message that's come through. Oh, hang on, here we go. Ralph, what if politicians are not answering our questions? They are no longer representing we, the people of New Zealand. Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry, Ralph. Ralph, yeah, I didn't understand where you were coming from with regards to your first couple of comments, but that ties it, gives me greater context, and now it makes more sense in my little brain. So yeah, thanks for that. I'm definitely inclined to agree with your comments in regards to that respect. But anyway, with regards to this request and the message that I received from this fella, kind supporter of the channel, so thank you. You know who you are. I won't mention your handle because your handle is your actual name. So that'll probably just give it away. So yeah, we'll minimize that. I took on board your suggestion of just use ChatGPT, and I thought, oh, actually, that's a good point. I was going to go through and start grabbing and splicing videos together. What's it? Oh, Winston Peters. Well, why did you go back to where you came from? He actually said, I see you just arrived here 5 minutes ago. When he's talking to the fella, an Asian fellow who I think was born here in NZ, or maybe he's been here for 30 something years or whatever. But yeah, hard case, there's some funny stuff, and then just the avoidance and deflection tactics that people use. So I asked Gemini, actually, not ChatGPT. I don't usually use ChatGPT, but I've used Gemini for stuff when I've done some research and things into other bits and pieces. So I've just found that I quite like Gemini. Excuse me, bloody hell, burping away. And it spat out some questions. I gave it a broad sort of prompt. Can you give me some questions that might be thrown at politicians here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, around healthcare, property or buying home, cost of living, education, homelessness, taxation, a whole bunch of things, superannuation, immigration, etc. And it spat out a whole bunch of questions. I probably, well, I don't know how if I'd get through all of these, but when I was having a read of them without editing, just taking them as they are and then copied and pasted it, I couldn't help but have a bit of a laugh in terms of what I imagine politicians would say if they were asked these sorts of questions. Some of these might be questions that may have been directly asked. I know at least one of them in and around unemployment would definitely be one of those sort of questions posed to the politicians, and how they just go about not answering the question. What have we got here? So Ralph, what? Oh no, it's you've already answered that. Yeah, cool. All right. This is more just for my benefit and to have a bit of a laugh and a piss take. What about this one here? Emergency department wait times are at historic highs, and thousands of Kiwis are waiting months for critical operations. Can you name the exact date by which emergency departments emergency department wait times will decrease, or are patients just expected to wait indefinitely? I don't know if that's the type of question. I suppose that's what you get if you ask AI to just spit out a whole bunch of questions. But that's the one that's got here. Emergency department wait times are at historic highs. Well, we know that there's issues with that in our emergency and healthcare system and emergency departments, and the strain that's been put on our health system. Thousands of Kiwis are waiting months for critical operations. Can you name the exact date by which emergency department wait times will decrease, or are patients just expected to wait indefinitely? This is how I reckon a politician would answer that question if they had governance or oversight of that particular portfolio. Well, I think it's important to understand that we inherited this mess and the state of our healthcare system due to the poor mismanagement and poor handling of the previous government. And so, what I can say is that we are working extremely hard and we will continue to work extremely hard for the health and well-being of the people of our country, trying to correct the mishandling of our healthcare system, which we have inherited as a result of the previous government. That's what I reckon they would say. And if I'm being honest, that's probably how they would answer and deflect a whole bunch of questions, or probably almost every question that's on here with regards to what Gemini has spat out. That's my take. What's this? Cost of living with everyday supermarket items, or this one might be a bit different. With everyday supermarket items up dramatically and real household purchasing power falling, do you accept that life in New Zealand is objectively less affordable under your current policies? Hey, how would Luxon, if he was to answer this? Well, I think you raise a very important issue. What I would say is, as the Prime Minister of New Zealand, is that while I only spend about $60, cost me about $60 living to run my household. So I'm not sure what people in the rest of Aotearoa are spending their money on, and why they can't, and or why they're struggling to survive. I think if people just manage their funds a bit better, as I sit here and collect more than $10,000 a week for my $500,000 annual salary as for running this country into the ground, I think people should just stop whinging and moaning and complaining about the hardships that they are facing, and just restrict the spending in terms of what they're buying. If they don't need to buy those things, then don't buy them and just stick to purchasing the things that they actually need. No, Luxon probably wouldn't answer it like that because he'd probably be shot. But him talking about, apparently, I haven't seen it, him talking about that he only spends $60 on his or $60 a week on his shopping. Yeah, I'd love to see and or know what it is that he's spending his $60 on. I would be surprised if that's all he's spending for his household. Just $60 in terms of shopping, just groceries. I'm not talking about bills and all that sort of stuff. Crack up. What have we got here? Home buying. First home buyers are routinely priced out by deposit requirements and mortgage rates. Routinely priced out by deposit requirements and mortgage rates. How many new affordable homes will your government directly deliver to the market before the next election? Well, with a whole bunch of it's Blink and Gemini's not too bad at spitting out these questions, eh? How would they go about answering that question? First home buyers are routinely priced out of deposit requirements and mortgage rates. How many new affordable homes will your government directly deliver to the market before the next election? They'd probably start off with something again, robotic and something that's safe enough to get them started. And it'd probably be along the lines of, again, I think what's really important to understand is that the previous government, so lay blame first, the previous government have left us a shambolic property situation. Immigration is through the roof and unskilled workers coming into the country, which we have been proactively trying to work through and rectify. And the free trade agreement with India is definitely going to help with that. This is all that deflection stuff, which will probably be running through their brain, because they're going to look to take this on a completely different trajectory in terms of the question that's been asked, and take it off this home buyers being priced out. And so with that, as we work through that, we're confident that with our efforts to improve actual skilled workers coming into the country and improving the unemployment situation, which I understand is the worst it's ever been in more than a decade, but we anticipated that that would happen. But what is good to know and worth mentioning is that we have created 13,000 new jobs. And so for those that are looking to get into the property home buying situation, as you've pointed out, which is a very important topic, once we get on top of rectifying the shambles that the previous government have left, we'll be able to give you a much clearer indication and idea of just how and where and when we will be able to bridge the gap, so that everyday New Zealanders and the next generations coming through will be able to get into their own homes and be property owners and be able to live the New Zealand dream effectively. That's what I reckon. Some sort of BS, trying to bamboozle and baffle people with their responses in regards to the replies and not answering the actual questions that come through. Actually, the person who sent through this, what's the name of the blinking? What's his name? I can picture his face. He blinking does all those skits just of himself, and it's himself playing the different characters. Oh, bloody hell! Blinking Kiwi fella. Um, I think he came into popularity during COVID, or maybe before COVID, when he just started doing all sorts of various little skits just in his own home, where he's playing all the different characters. He's the dad, he's the child, he's the mum. Ah, bloody hell! Can't bloody what's it? I wouldn't even know how to bloody search him because I can't think of the name. But people will know him. Funny fella, anyway. um, the person that sent this through, I think, may have meant me doing skits like that, and they said I could do a comedy sketch sort of thing in and around these. Yeah, probably could, but I think it's probably just easier for me to just jump on and yap away to myself on a live. So I just took the suggestion of getting some questions using AI across those different areas, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of things and stuff on here. Probably, maybe it might be more engaging if I did comedy skit type videos like that fella. Oh, far out! That's going to annoy me now. The bloody hell's his name? What if I go? Oh, actually, what if I? Let's try and find him. What would I type? Funny New Zealand blanket YouTuber. Let's try that. YouTuber. What is his name? No, that's not him. Here he is. Jimmy Jackson. That's the bloody guy I was thinking of. Oh, well, people will know that name, Jimmy Jackson. I think that's probably how this fella. Good, how that worked out. I just typed in funny NZ YouTuber, and then it's got these other people. Some Asian-looking guy, female on there. Jimmy Jackson is near the top of the list. Who else is there? Oh, well, Jimmy Jackson's at Ryan. Ryan was. I don't know who Ryan was is. Never heard of him, but I should probably check him out. But yeah, if I did these videos like that, maybe be the person asking the question, be the politician standing at a blinking podium and giving some sort of BS answer. Or imagine if a politician just gave an honest answer. What if I did that? Where's the so not avoiding the actual blinking question and just giving an honest answer? Where are we here? What's this immigration? Net immigration figures have fluctuated. This is an AI. All of these are AI generated questions I've got on here. Net immigration figures have fluctuated widely while local infrastructure struggles to keep pace. What is your government's target annual number for net migration? I don't know how they would answer that, honestly. Migrant workers continue to face exploitation in low-wage sectors. What specific enforcement measures have you introduced this year that have successfully shut down non-compliant employers? Well, I think if they were to answer that honestly, that would be pretty easy. Well, we've done nothing to improve the or to implement safety measures to improve the safety and well-being and lack of exploitation or non-exploitation of foreign workers. We've also done nothing in that employment space, whereby we have just caused the shambles and we've raised the unemployment rate to the highest it's ever been. And we know that the 13,000 jobs that have somehow, I've just plucked that number out of my backside, but I'm going to say it anyway, that we've created 13,000 new jobs. We know that that's going to do truck all for the 170 odd thousand people that are unemployed in New Zealand. Plus, in addition to that, we've just let another 111,000 immigrants into the country. So I'm no maths Einstein, but what's that? 270 odd thousand, or dare I say 280 odd thousand people in the country, I presume unemployed, with 111,000 immigrants and 170,000 unemployed, and only 13,000 new jobs. I don't think that's going to achieve much. So how would they answer that? Yeah, we've done truck all. We've actually made things worse. We've put more pressure and strain on our housing system because the supply of the houses is not equal to the demand that is required. And we couldn't do that before we allowed these number of immigrants or these additional immigrants into the country. So there's no trucking way we're going to be able to keep up with it. On top of that, employment is at an all-time high. Unemployment is at an all-time high. Cost of living is too expensive for people to even go down and buy the basic necessities, and people are struggling to pay their bills. So I don't know what we're going to do. I am too stubborn and pig-headed to admit that I can't run this country very well, and or that I haven't been doing a very good job. And likewise, members of my party who have tried to stab me in the back and take me out of this and oust me out of the position at least twice in the last 4 months, but have failed miserably, they're not much better. So the country is stuck with me, and too bad. Aotearoa, New Zealand, just suck it until this next election. And if you want to do something about it, well, then you'll have your chance come whenever the election time is. That would probably be, um, uh, that probably wouldn't be how they would say it, but it sounds probably more honest based on what little I know of the National Party and the political system and landscape in terms of who's doing what, and or probably the better question is who's doing nothing, who's not doing their job. Because then I suppose you're lining up all the people who oversees. Well, we know Winston Peters has got oversight, I think, on immigration. So so stand him up and throw some questions at him in and around citizenship, immigration. How does that work? How does he see this election working? Because that policy change isn't going to happen before this election. So essentially, non-citizens can and will be able to vote in New Zealand. The current status quo will be as it is, and people can go online and have a look at that to see who's eligible to vote. And as long as you're 18, as long as, say, whether you're a citizen or whether you're a permanent resident of 12 months or more, or whether you've got a visa that you've held for 12 months or more and there's no expiry date, well, you can vote. Who looks after education? Who looks after tax and all that sort of stuff? What did I say? Education, superannuation. That's a bit of a point of discussion, which is going into on both sides from National Land Labour, or all sides, I should say, being used as a political tool to for people to present themselves as well as they can, to say, here I am, choose me to run this country, because we're going to make things better for people. Man, it just seems like whoever jumps in there or whoever's voted in there isn't doing that great a job. They just seem like clowns. Hence why I put red noses on the blinking thumbnail for this video. Which, just man, there's a lot of questions in here. I think they're probably done better as a tag team as I look at them now. But as I look at them here and sit here and read these AI generated questions, it makes me wonder what sort of questions have been asked of these people. Like, what caused Winston Peters' outburst when he was in there and telling old mate to go back to where he's from? When I think that fella's 30, 34 or 30, early 30s, and was born here in New Zealand. Yeah, his parents might have immigrated here. It's not his fault in terms of the fact that he was born here. I would assume he's a citizen and or has got citizen rights, and has, by all accounts, from what I can tell, seems to have made a life for him here in New Zealand, in Aotearoa, and so much so that he's in Parliament House. So he must be in some sort of position within politics to warrant him standing in the House. And he must have said something that upset old Uncle Winston, which made Uncle Winston blink and tell him to go back to where he's from, and said the words that, I can see you've only been here for 5 minutes. This is a democracy here. We're part of a democracy. I think he said, I know that's different to what you're used to. So, and I suppose after watching that short clip, I can understand why a number of people and I guess, dare I say, some media outlets, mainstream media, and some uh, political members may have viewed his comments as racist. just based on what it was that he was saying. But crack up, unhinged, unfiltered, and old Uncle Winston in there telling people to go back to where they're from when old mate, through no fault of his own, was born here in NZ, from what I understand. Hard case. This is interest rates. Oh, bro, some of these questions that AI has spat out is definitely not in my wording. So they're not the way I would word these questions. I don't even know if some of them are applicable, even though that was part of the prompt. Yeah, so maybe I won't delve into those. Let's have a look at, that's what I was doing before I jumped on this live. So um, did some reactions to some military stuff, but also did a reaction to a request, or a suggestion, I should say, that came through from Rubber Kiwi. I just haven't edited and uploaded these videos yet, but one of them was on this guy, Mossab Hassan Yusuf. My father founded Hamas, Stories of Us. It's about 15 minutes long, 15 and a half minutes. Took me nearly an hour to do my reaction to it, because I just thought, I'll just do this in one straight shot instead of breaking it up. But it was super engaging listening to that. Hearing him speak, and I know I spoke about it in my reaction, there's crossovers into the governments and political considerations, excuse me, or at least there should be political considerations from an immigration perspective. This was a guy talking about his upbringing, indoctrination, for want of a better term, in and around Hamas, and the ideology around his dad was part of the Muslim Brotherhood, one of the founders of Hamas. And he was hard to be all or nothing Hamas, and blinking death and destruction to the infidels and to the rest of the world, and in particular to Israel. But just listening to him, he's at he's at that end of the spectrum, and he's now at the polar opposite end of the spectrum, whereby pretty interesting. I won't go into it. People can go and have a watch of his video. The title of the video again is Mossab Hassan Yusuf. My father founded Hamas, Stories of Us. Check that out. 15 minutes 25 seconds long is what it is, not 15:30. Close enough. But I really enjoyed doing that reaction today. It wasn't a military reaction. Some of the other couple of the earlier ones that I did today were military ones. And then that one's going to play on my mind for a while. That guy's living in the United States right now, where he states, the Muslim Brotherhood is there, is present, is active, which is not surprising. But it does make me wonder, and I did mention it during the reaction, like, is he a double agent? Is he like the kahunas on this guy anyway, showing his face, unlike some other cowards from over west in terms of Western Australia, in terms of laying war crime allegations against RS and saying it's in the name of truth and justice, but want to hide their cowardly faces. This guy is blinking like, here I am for the whole world to see, on camera, no blurry dark corners hiding his face, no changing of his voice. I just can't help but think surely there must be some sort of bounty on his head, I would imagine, from the Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas, whatever the blinking clowns want to call themselves, terrorist organization, to get that guy in terms of what he's coming out and speaking about. I found it super interesting. Again, I don't know, is it just propaganda? Was he really? I don't know. But here's a guy who has basically, if nothing else, has painted a clear target on his back, on his front, blinking on his forehead, to those who he's speaking badly about, to say, here I am, come and get me, you clowns, if you think you can. And he's just, so I have definite respect to that man for what it is that he's doing, the way he's going about doing it, and doesn't appear to be hiding. Obviously, for his safety and well-being, he states it on the video anyway. He's living in the US now, so Israel is. If everything he said is true, he's worked in collaboration with Israeli forces and intelligence to try to disrupt and destroy, dare I say, Hamas and what it is that they're doing. And part of that deal, I guess, is that he's been shipped over to the US and given asylum there, or has he been planted there? Has he been planted there in the United States, and is actually potentially is a double agent, working against Western interests and all that sort of thing? Who knows? With the state of some of the movies and stuff that you see these days, Blinken seems like anything's possible, eh? So I don't know, man. Interesting times that we live in, but again, that fella has put his mug on the interweb, so to speak, and come out all guns blazing, in and against Hamas, and talking about his father and his father's role in that. I think it's a really great video, just for anybody to watch. And I think I mentioned in there that should be mandatory viewing for political members, prime ministers, presidents, particularly members of parliament or ministers who have portfolio oversight for immigration policy. that should be mandatory viewing for those that have any sort of responsibility in that space, including those that have responsibility for issuing visas as well. But that probably won't happen. But yeah, interesting, man. Lots of stuff happening in this great big world of ours, but lots happening in our own little spaces, wherever we may be. And so for me here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, or Aotearoa, New Zealand, there's a heck of a lot of just challenging things, which a number of people are in a whole bunch of different categories. Some are really struggling a heck of a lot. Some are living the dream, as some don't care. Some are like, oh well, nothing I can do about it. I can't control that, and I'm, sort of inclined to agree with those as well. Control what you can, and the stuff that you can't control, well, it's out of your control. Like, ride that wave as well as you can, good or bad, and try to stay afloat as best you can. For some people, I realize that is easier said than done, and some people is literally, it's not being done at all. They're living out on the streets and doing it extremely hard. So yeah, interesting times, man. Lots of things running through my head. So yeah, bloody hell. Anyway, where was I? That's about 30 minutes. Jumped onto this to blink and do a piss take of politicians responding to questions that they may get, put to them. I think maybe I should do. What did he say in his message? He said I could do a search. I think should do some comedy videos of politicians not answering the questions that get put to them. Ask your followers for a list of, oh yeah, maybe I could do that. Ask your followers for a list of questions, or do a search for NZ government press conference. That's probably a better option. That's probably the option I should have done, bro, instead of just doing a blank and Gemini prompt response and go, hey, can you spit me out some questions? It definitely has spat me out a whole bunch of questions, and several questions under each topic. But that's probably a better one. Maybe I'll do a search for government press conferences, New Zealand government press conferences, as you've got here, and see what questions are being put to them. I know I've done a reaction on old bloody chubby cheek Shane Jones, and I've spoken about that in other lives and his trip to Canada. But yeah, things like that probably I should maybe do. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe that's what I'll do after this. Do a search for New Zealand government press conferences, see what sort of questions get put to them, do a reenactment or a piss take of those responses, and or look to highlight. Maybe I'll just do reactions to those and highlight how they just look to, one, not answer the question, and two, just either lie and or distract and deflect and shift the conversation as best they can to something else. I just saw a perfect example of that, actually. Well, I see lots of perfect examples, but I saw an example of that on Instagram this morning when I was having a look as well, around the same time when I saw the shout out to Jason Brown. Rest in peace to that fella, ex-Australian SASR trooper, ex-4 RAR as well, and ex-1 RAR, from what I read in terms of some of his background and history, who was tragically killed in action in Afghanistan in 13th of this month, August 2000 and, oh bloody hell, I can't remember the year, but rest in peace to that guy. But there was Penny Wong. I think she's the I want to say, is she responsible for foreign affairs minister? And old Dumbanese had made some derogatory comments about the Japanese prime minister in regards to this a gift, a melon, I think, that she gave to the prime minister. And I don't know what he said, but apparently he hasn't apologized for his comments of whatever it is that he has said in relation to that. But Penny Wong was asked the question in her role as Minister for Foreign Affairs. I think that's her responsibility, or one of her responsibilities. I think she was asked, did she encourage or has she advised the Prime Minister, Dumbanese, who shouldn't need to be advised, should be common sense, but has she advised the Prime Minister to apologize or to make a public apology to the Japanese Prime Minister or Japanese President? I don't know what Japan calls their leader of their country, Prime Minister or President. And Penny Wong starts going on some blinking wee wah wah conversation about nothing to do with addressing the simple question. Like, the question is, have you advised, if I break it down, have you advised the Prime Minister of Australia to make a formal apology to the Japanese Prime Minister or President, the female, again, I don't know whether they're Prime Minister or President, in relation to his stupid comments, basically, that he made on a blinking show that he attended when he was trying to be one of the cool kids. And she starts talking about, first, I would say that the relationship between the Prime Minister of Australia and Japan is the strongest it's ever been. Like, just really long-winded, dragging things out, a bunch of rubbish as I was listening to it, to the point where I think people in the opposition were just getting fed up, like, hurry up and answer the question. And she didn't. There was no answer. She was asked the question at least 2 or 3 times. Dumbanese's been asked the question 2 or 3 times. And every time out of those 4 to 6 times of the question being asked, there'd been no answer. And it's just typical, typical of politicians. Like I was saying in the live last night that went into this morning, it seems like that is a prerequisite, or it's part of probably their media training that they must receive when it comes to receiving questions, and don't answer them directly, like deflect and or just flat out lie. I.e. Luxon's comment of, I have the full support of caucus or of the party. Bro, clearly you don't, because they've just tried to sack your bald head, your potato head, twice in the last 4 months. And we're coming up to the election, which isn't that far away, a few months away. It could happen a third time. I'd like to think that the National Party, if they are going to throw a punch a third time leading up to an election, that they can be more competent at it this next time if they do. Will they do it? I don't know. I'd be surprised if they do. And even then, if they are successful in getting rid of Mr. Potato Head Luxon, or Luxtard, I think I read somewhere in some of the comments, then I still don't think that's going to do them any favors in when it comes time for New Zealand voters to go to the polls and vote again. I know that if I am at that stage whereby I put in a vote at the end of this year, I'm definitely not voting for National. Like, just the handling of things, and from what I've seen and heard, and as I do a little bit more of my own research and looking into things, it just seems so divided. People seem within that party are out for themselves, so much so that when they tried to get rid of Luxon, they couldn't even agree on who should be the new leader. So it seems like nobody else there has got support of other people. People are just out for themselves, like, oh, I want to be the leader of the party, so vote for me. And they're like, oh no, I want to be the leader. Well, no, I want to be the leader too. So it's like, why would anybody want to vote for a party that is clearly so divided? And their last ditched effort, their last resort, after dragging the media into it and causing this ruckus, has been to, oh, okay, well, if nobody's going to vote for me, and I don't want to vote for you, and you don't want to vote for me, but you don't want to vote for them either, and you just want to be in charge, well, let's just keep Mr. Potato Head in there, and we'll carry on. We'll stand behind with a fake smile and nod our head as he says that I have the full support of his party, which he clearly doesn't. So just those two guys in the video that I showed last night, they gave a good analysis of that. Like, he just flat out lied to people here in NZ. But the surprising thing is, I saw another video today. I think it was stuff going around and just asking members of the public from around NZ what they think of the National Party, what they think of Luxon. Do they think he's a good leader? Would they vote for him again? And surprisingly, from the people, unless that was just the pieces that mainstream media chose to show, surprisingly, there were a number of people, men and women, various ages, saying that, yeah, they think he's doing a pretty good job, and that they would probably vote for him again. So, thinking, heck, call me crazy. Maybe I am the crazy one, but it sounds like there's still going to be a number of people voting for Luxtard and the National Party, which is just like mind blowing to me that's what people are thinking, that's how they feel about the economy and everything here in NZ at the moment. But again, maybe they're like me. Maybe they just don't pay a lot of attention to the political landscape and the situation, or haven't been paying much attention to it. And so they're probably of the same opinion that I've had for the longest time. It's like, oh, it's not really, like, don't really see it or feel it affecting me personally right now anyway. So what's the difference in terms of who gets voted in? They're all just as bad as each other. And my vote isn't going to make a difference anyway. So why bother voting? Maybe that's where those people possibly are coming from. Or maybe they're the complete opposite and they do pay attention to what's happening, and that is potentially their genuine belief that, oh, Mr. Potato Head Luxtard is the one to be running this country, and that National is the only option. I can't say that I think Labour is a viable option, or the Greens Party, or ACT, or New Zealand First, or who else is there? Is there like is it TOP or something like that? Can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be interesting times over the next few months. See who starts moving up in the polls. Oh, there were some other names that came through too, with regards to if we were to start a new, or if you were to start a new New Zealand political party, what would you call it? I'm as I think of Australia, like, and Pauline Hanson and One Nation, I think to myself, that One Nation sounds good. Like, if I was in Australia right now, I've shared that in other videos and other live streams, I would be voting for One Nation if I was in Australia right now. That election isn't until next year, from what I understand. Their federal election isn't until 2027, I think. Is it 2027 or 2028? No, I think it's next year for Australia. I could be wrong though. Either way, it's bloody too far, too long before it happens, in my opinion, anyway, to get rid of that useless bloody Labor government over there. But maybe you have a One Nation New Zealand. People have spoken about the division or the divide in terms of ethnicity, and that shouldn't be playing a part and all that sort of thing, which, I'm inclined to agree with that. Got no problem with people maintaining their heritage, their ethnicity, their values, their beliefs, and where they come from. But and so when you're having, Te Pāti Māori, that's another one. So having things, that to me in and of itself just speaks to me in a way that says division, from my perspective. Don't get me wrong, I'm proud to be Māori, or the Māori heritage that I do have. I acknowledge also that I'm not full-blooded Māori. There are no full-blooded Māori left. So I've got whatever other heritage make up in my blanket mongrel bloodline system somewhere. But I'm proud to, if I was to identify as somebody, I'm proud to be a New Zealand Māori. So that's my take on my own personal situation. When I see and hear the term Te Pāti Māori in government, I guess I understand, or my simplistic understanding of it is that Māori people want to be represented, and want to have a voice at the table, so to speak, in politics and parliament and government, particularly pertaining to matters and decisions and policies that will affect, everybody, not just Maori people, but non-Maori alike. So I understand it from that perspective, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I just, people might look at it and go, well, it's just a name. What does it matter? Names apparently and seemingly do matter to people. Hence some of the suggestions that came through on the post that I'd put up. What would people call it? But where was I going with all of that? As I sit here and as that popped into my head, the sound and the ring to One Nation, to me, has a ring to it. Like, it sounds inclusive. It sounds, dare I say, empowering in terms of a One Nation perspective. It says, to me, in my simplistic view, like being united. That's what it sounds like to me. If when I'm thinking of or listening to the names of these political parties: Labour, National, the Greens, here in NZ, Te Pāti Māori, ACT, New Zealand First. Actually, New Zealand First is probably, I would put New Zealand First and One Nation in terms of namings for political parties. Those are probably, as I sit here, those are probably my two favorite, in terms of what sounds like putting the needs of your people first, and doing that in what sounds like a collaborative and inclusive manner. But realistically, the people that are in those parties seem to me like they couldn't be anything but inclusive and collaborative. Seems like they're just very segregated, off in their own silos, want to do their own thing, and are too busy pointing fingers and laying blame at other people for the mess, or dare I say, the shambles that we're in at the moment. So yeah, interesting. Interesting also as well, speaking with some people. Some are friends, and some are just people that have stumbled upon my channel and thrown some questions my way. Would you ever consider running for government or being in politics? Like I've shared in other videos, it's certainly not high on my list of priorities to do. In terms of saying never, I think I've learnt over the years to never say never to things. I think there was a time where I said, "Oh man," when social media, I should say, when social media started being more popular, and I was really more of a consumer of social media, and definitely wasn't a content creator. But I think I did have an interest in it, but always thought, and I know I said the words, "Oh, I'd never get into this." I'd never do that. I'd never go making content. And I think I've learnt over the years, having said never to a number of things, "Oh, I'd never do this, I'd never do that," and then actually going on and doing those things. I think I'm in a space now where it's like, maybe don't go saying never, because you know I don't know, or we don't know, or you never know what's going to happen or what's just around the corner. So, is it something that I'm interested in, though? That's probably a better question. I'm interested in it from the perspective of, who do I want to vote for? Like, how can I maximize my individual vote so that it has the most bang for its buck, or the most positive impact on people here in NZ? So that's probably where my head more so is at this time like right at the forefront. How can I? It's a way for me to try to do that. Hence why I've said in these other videos in and around this space. And again, a lot of this hinges from the "Is New Zealand Becoming India" video that I did. A lot of this is dependent, or in order for me to do that, I should say, it's dependent on me to blink and get off my backside and take some time to do some research and look into things so that I can see how and or where I might be able to best use my vote when that time comes. So nearing the end of this year, if I'm in a position and if I think I've got enough information and enough rationale in terms of why I'm going to cast my vote a certain way and or not, that sits with me to be doing. So yeah, that's probably more at the forefront of my mind. Plus, the other part, as far as politics goes, it's quite funny having a bit of a laugh at at these bloody retards. I call them retards who have been voted into power, and it just makes me think, bloody truck and heck, if these clowns can do it, like I surely couldn't do any worse. If I was to somehow magically get into that space. But even the rigmarole, I think Rubber Kiwi mentioned that the rigmarole involved in anybody looking to get into politics is just such a blink and seems like such a convoluted web of blinking obstacles and criteria and things that you have to do and hoops that you have to jump through before you. No, I don't even know where you end up. If you do get through all of that stuff, I don't know what your position is. What are you, the mail delivery person or something, or the coffee maker? I have no idea, but it's interesting to me. So I'm enjoying that bit of a, oh bloody hell, what's this? So I'm enjoying that little journey in terms of doing my own research. Stuart McAdam, sorry. Here's an insight often overlooked. The true slide away from the Labour Party and National Party of old began with Helen Clark and John Key. Okay, those are two names that I know, but in terms of, like, I know the names, I don't know them as people. How can you forget those people, right? But if that's from what you're saying, the true slide away from the Labour Party and National began with Helen Clark and John Key. Okay, Clark's cabinet was stuffed full of academics, closet Marxists. I don't know what that means, but and money-hungry muppets. Yeah, bloody hell. Key's refusal to keep National as a socially conservative party consigned them to a money-based party. Oh, wow. Okay. Which brings in Dad's Army, aka New Zealand First. At their heart, they are really just Muldoons slash savagism. With a dash of maverick perfectly wrapped up to keep themselves relevant. Or the kingmakers, eh? Is that the term that's used? PM makers? So a big question to ask Hipkins and Luxon is, why do your parties have nothing in common with the traditional Labour and National Party? And what are your plans to fix this? There you go. Stuart McAdam. Sounds like fair and reasonable questions to me. Even though I don't know the background or never followed, the Jim Bolgers or the Muldoons or the Blinken, all of that sort of background in terms of politics, but clearly you have. So, yeah, asking them those questions. Why do your parties have nothing in common with the traditional Labour and National Party? So Helen Clark was Labour, I take it, and John Key was National. Is that how they were? Bloody hell, I should know, but I don't know. Again, just more evidence to my absolute naivety when it comes to New Zealand politics and, dare I say, Australian politics. Like, mine's just more react and gibber away and comment based on what it is that I see and hear at the time, and whoever's in power, in power, is that the right word? Yeah, whoever's in power or whoever's being grilled and being asked questions and they're not even answering them. But fair enough, if that's the question, Stuart McAdam, that you reckon should be asked to these two, Hipkins and Luxon, thinking Dumb and Dumber, or Bad and Badder and Badderer. Who do you vote for? Yeah, I'm not convinced of anybody at this stage. So I think I've shared so far I can't see myself right now, today, leaning any particular way to vote for anyone, not any of the current parties that we have, just because I don't have any confidence in any of them so far. Like, nobody to me just seems to have courage to come out and speak in real basic, pragmatic, common sense terms and words. Like, if we were to look at, well, so immigration is blanking big topic at the moment. And I take on board the comments that have been shared. It's not the immigrants that are coming over that are the problems. It's the decision makers and the government and the policy that is allowing these things to happen. Uh, I think yes and no. I think, like I've shared openly before, like everybody involved in that whole immigration loop or chain or process or structure, whatever you want to call it, has responsibility, has skin in the game, from whoever makes the policy and decision to whoever's responsible for overseeing it, for whoever's responsible for implementing it and doing the checks and balances, to the person that eventually immigrates and comes to that country, whether it's New Zealand, whether it's Australia, whatever. And then however that loop continues, there's probably other parts in that chain which I probably haven't mentioned because I don't know what that full policy is as a whole. But my very simplistic view, looking at it from the outside in with no experience in that immigration space at all, but just applying my own, dare I say, common sense, pragmatic approach to it or lens to it. Like, everybody's got skin in the game and everybody's responsible. It's not just one piece of the chain that has responsibility when it comes to the whole immigration process, because immigration from one country to another is a process. It's not just the policy and it's not just the individual or the individuals coming over. Hopefully that makes sense. It makes sense in my small brain anyway. But using that as, I suppose, as a premise for me downloading my thoughts from a somewhat trying to make sense or trying to speak in common sense terms, for me, if you're looking at that immigration perspective, and people talk a lot about, India and China, economic superpowers, and it's good for the economy, allowing immigration and having strong immigration ties with other countries. It brings in already qualified people with skills and experience that are going to help the New Zealand economy to grow, whether it's in education, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in infrastructure and buildings, whether it's in whatever the needs may be, agriculture, etc., etc. There's no denying that. Like, that's great. If you're looking at immigration from that lens, also giving people a better opportunity or a better way of life in comparison to where they may currently be at the stage, there's lots of good things for it. Like, I'm not against immigration at all. Like, there's a heck of a lot of really good things for it. But as I look at as I hear about the stuff that's happening in NZ at the moment, with unemployment rates being the highest they've ever been in more than a decade, with the situation and problems with supply and demand in terms of housing and people living, the cost of living, just those things alone, to me, is enough to say, yeah, let's put a pause on immigration and people coming through. That might upset the apple cart with other countries like India, China, whatever, in terms of the free trade agreements or the impacts on immigration, etc., and um, costs and all those sorts of things. There probably are, but I don't think that that's going to destroy our country if you put a pause on immigration for a bit and just look at it and protect your people and look after it from the lens and go, hey, hang on, this is the reason why. Like, let people know why you're doing it first. Don't just look at all the doom and gloom around, oh, but that economically it's gonna ruin the relationship. We will struggle to get whatever it is that we get from those other countries and vice versa, blah blah blah, because we're not allowing their people to come into the country, whatever it is. I honestly don't think just putting a pause on that and then speaking to, here's the rationale. We've got 170,000 odd New Zealanders, or a mix of citizens, permanent residents, visa holders, I assume, but they're on the books here in NZ, that are unemployed. So it sounds like they're probably capable of being employed, able to work, but they are unemployed. So there's an issue there. We've either got not enough jobs for people to fill, and or a combination of not enough jobs and or unskilled workers, people being able to do it, or redundancies have just been a natural byproduct of things as technology improve and AI becomes more and more of a thing, and businesses look to streamline and be low drag and be as self-sufficient as they can, and ultimately that potentially has led to. So I'm sure if there was some research done, so whoever's in charge, get your minions out there doing the research. Why is this number the way it is? Why are we at 5.6% unemployment in our country? Why is it the highest it's ever been in more than a decade? And let's start trying to cross the T's and dot the I's to get an understanding of what that looks like. Not be trying to do all of that. And I'm not saying that they are. I don't know if they are trying to do all of that. And at the same time, oh, by the way, while we've got housing shortages and or costs of houses are so ridiculously high that people can't afford them, let's bring in another 100,000 immigrants into the country as well, just for good measure, so that we can add to our workload and make things even harder. Like, for me, it just seems common sense to go, no, we're pausing that. Apologies. Those of you that were looking to immigrate over here, this has happened. We can't accommodate you. It doesn't make sense to us as a government. It doesn't make sense to New Zealanders for us to bring over 100,000 new immigrants into our country when we've got 170 odd thousand that are unemployed. We've got housing shortages and or costs of living and costs of houses are that expensive that people are struggling to afford those anyway. We've got some issues here that we need to try to sort out and or bring under more control as much as we can within reason, um, before we then open the doors for these immigrants to come over. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Of the 111,000 of immigrants, what we're looking to do is we're going to look to take those high priority, highly skilled individual immigrants first. And if that means there's only about 10,000 of you, we can probably manage that, because if you're coming over highly skilled, you've met the criteria, whatever that criteria is, and you can go straight into work that's going to plug a gap, that's going to help hopefully potentially stabilize some of what we need here in NZ, because out of the 170 odd thousand, we don't have the skill or the people to be able to plug those gaps. Then those are the people that we're going to bring over. However, before we do that, this is me solving the New Zealand's problems from my armchair. Before we bring over that, whatever that number is, from those 100,000 odd immigrants, we are going to first look at this 170 odd thousand and see, do we actually have citizens first who are qualified to be able to fill any of these gaps that we've got? Because if we do, we're grabbing them first, or we're offering the position to them first. Different story if they don't want to do it, right? But are we doing that? Is there a mechanism, is there a process in place for us to be able to identify that? Here's our gaps: healthcare, construction, agriculture, like in defense force, whatever it is. Here's all these apparent gaps that we have that we need immigrants for, apparently. Well, do we have anybody in this 170 odd thousand unemployed people that potentially have the skills, knowledge, experience, desire, drive to want to continue working, and who are capable of filling these gaps, who are preferably citizens, if not citizens, permanent residents, if not permanent residents, have a visa with no expiry date? It seems like maybe I'm oversimplifying things, or maybe I'm speaking in a way that just that sort of stuff doesn't exist anywhere. I don't know. So maybe it doesn't exist anywhere except in my little head. But for me, that's just one example without even going into all the nitty-gritty detail on one thing in terms of just using common sense. My take, bringing common sense into the equation. Would I sit and listen to other supposed experts and people with degrees talking about, oh, but if you put a complete pause on immigration for the next 12 months while we try to sort this out, it's going to potentially disrupt and cause this, that, and the other? Okay, well, share with me, show us what those things are. How is this going to impact us economically? How is it going to make things even worse? Because from what I can see, we've got nearly 200,000 unemployed. We've got supply and demand shortages on housing. Cost of housing and living is too high as it is. Interest rates are through the roof. And I don't see how bringing another 111,000 people into the country is going to make that better. What I can see is pausing that and then trying to get some of this stuff under control, or at least be showing our people, our citizens, our country, that we are doing our best to get this under control. And these are the measures and the steps that we're taking. Be able to articulate that in a very straightforward, common sense way, answer questions honestly. The what if questions are bound to come. Like, how long's a piece of string? How many what if questions are there in the world? Accept and understand that you're not going to have all the answers for everything, because you don't have a crystal ball and you can't predict the future. But answer the questions that do come to you, particularly questions that are yes or no, or just very simple to understand. Answer them directly and in a way that's not deceptive or deflecting or trying to distract from what the actual issue or the question is, and earn the trust and keep the trust of the people within your country. Like, to me, that doesn't sound like something that is too big of an ask for people to do. If you're putting up your hand to go and serve and work in the public sector to serve the people of your country, whether you want to call it New Zealand First or One Nation or whatever, like those two are at the top of my list in terms of naming conventions for a party versus these other parties, then put your money where your mouth is and do what it is that you're supposed to do to the best of your ability. Get the people, select and choose the right people, smarter people than yourself, I assume, that can come in and plug those gaps and do things the way that people of your country want them done. So in this case, New Zealand. I don't think that's too big of an ask. In fact, I think that's a minimum requirement of what people can, could, and should expect from anybody that's looking to blink and look to put their hand up to say, hey, I'll look to run this country. Well, I'll look to lead this country, and I'll look to lead it with integrity and as well as I can, and I'll look to collaborate with the opposition parties. I'm not going to look to point fingers and lay blame and talk about how useless they are and this, that, and the other. Like, I'll work with them to, obviously, they've got well, I shouldn't say obviously, they apparently have some smart people in their party as well with skills and stuff. Why don't we try to pool those resources, hence One Nation or NZ First? Why don't you try to pull those resources together, work together for the betterment and common good, rather than being divisive and trying to tear each other down, and or even internally within their own organizations trying to rip each other apart or rip their own parties apart out of greed or some sense of I can do this better than that person. Like, if you've got skills in certain areas, which is what I assume you've been brought into those relevant parties for, use those skills to enhance the ability and capability of the unit or organization or party that you're with for the benefit of the people within your country. Like, again, that doesn't seem like that's a very complex or difficult thing to understand. It just, if I was sitting here looking at and listening to a person that is putting up their hand saying running for office or whatever the bloody terms are that they use, and this is what we plan on doing, and then you see them deliver that, like, I would go, that's who I'm voting for. Me personally, it's they what you're going to be honest about it. You're not going to be just sitting there blaming the previous government that was in power prior to you. You're going to take ownership of the shortcomings and shortfalls and acknowledge that. But more than that, you're also going to talk about and address the questions specifically that come to you, not deflect them, not try to distract. You're going to stay on point with those questions and then outline what it is that you plan on doing. What you're also going to talk about what you tried to implement and what you were working on, but what you've identified is no longer working. Like, to me, call me old fashioned, but that looks and sounds like somebody that would over time earn my trust and more than likely probably keep it if that's how they and their party continue to operate and communicate and be working, more importantly, working to implement the things that they're talking about doing. Whereas, man, what I see these days just seems to be people that are vying for and want those positions of power for whatever the reason is, whether it's for the paycheck, whether it's for um, recognition or the adding to their CV so that they can go into other positions when their time's done in politics or whatever. I don't know what those reasons are, but it just seems like they don't seem to be, for me, people that I look at, listen to, and feel like I can trust, and or feel like they're working in my best interests or my children's best interests, and or in the not too distant future, my grandchildren's best interests. You know what I mean? It's just yeah, it's hard to understand why the current political landscape is the way it is, and why politicians, seemingly to me anyway, my little narrow view and all my biases included in that, seem to just be out for themselves, and or don't have a sort of common sense molecule in their brain cell to blink and rub together, to make decisions that are again in the best interests of their people. That just seems so basic and simple. The amount of people that I've had comments, even in live chats and other comments on that video about is New Zealand becoming India, that have been shocked and surprised around, what do you mean? Like, you don't have to be a citizen to vote in New Zealand? What's going on? Like, the amount of people that didn't know that. I didn't know that till I was looking into that, and then had these requests and things come through and links like that to those sort of videos, and then doing my own little research. I was just like, what the hell? How is that even a thing? How did that happen in the first place? But more importantly, well, that's probably the most important part, but equally important, I should say, is how has that been allowed to just continue for decades, post whenever that ruling first came into play? Is just beyond me. People getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to work in the best interests of their people, and we can't even correct and or change, excuse me, a policy that just doesn't seem like it works in the best interests of its people from a voting perspective, when you're having non-citizens having the ability to vote after only having been here for about 12 months or a little bit longer. It's just mad. Oh, bloody hell. Sorry, Stuart McAdam, you've put some more in here. Um, I bloody missed that big question. Oh, DMC, you're on there as well. Stuart McAdam, the problem with politicians is if they were overt about their true desires, no one would vote for them. We say we want honest politicians, and when candidates come forward and are honest, no one votes for them. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. Stuart, I don't know if who, from your perspective, or maybe you've got it here, you've got another couple of things. Actually, let me just get this out of my head before I read these other comments that you've got here. Who have been, in your opinion, from your experience, Stuart, who have been the politicians that you've seen that have come out that have been honest in regards to what it is that they plan on doing, and what is it that they've spoken about? What things did they speak about openly and honestly that they were looking to do and or change and or implement, whatever, and they didn't get voted in? I'd be interested to know who those people were. From your perspective, it sounds like you've got some there, or possibly people in mind. You've got here, the Green Party truly believes that they are both rebels against authority and liberators of mankind. So their values and views are to be enforced on all. No questions asked and punishment for dissent. Okay, I have no idea about the Green Party. Is that Swarbrick lady or girl? She looks like a girl to me. Like, I know she's a female. That's not what I mean. But I mean, she looks like a young girl, is what I mean by that. Or a young lady is probably what I should say. Green Party, is that who that is? Stuart McAdam, Labour's major failure as a party is failing to address major cost of living and housing affordability issues. Their working class base suffers from the most. They never answer why they don't address this. Yeah, okay, cool. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not answering those things. I am surprised in terms of the comments that you've got here about the Green Party, but again, that's because of my naivety and inexperience in the New Zealand political landscape and not knowing what it is that the Green Party stands for. Quite interesting how you've got here that the Green Party believes they're both rebels against authority and liberators of mankind. It seems very contradictory in terms of, actually, maybe not so much liberators and rebels. That's probably not so contradictory. But what you have got here, which is also interesting to me, is their values and views are to be enforced on all. Yeah, so I'd be interesting in terms of, I don't know, I assume you base that on probably debates, I guess, that you've seen or witnessed or heard from them, or press, dare I say, press conferences and them sharing their opinions on certain things. There was one that I saw, I don't know what party she is, a Maori lady though, but she was going off on one talking about how the English language is a bastardized language from Latin and something else, how she was talking. I was like, holy heck, who's this lady? But to be honest, I actually didn't sit there and watch it all. I just thought, oh, had a little bit of a giggle and then just moved on. I thought, ah, bloody hell. Like, if it's that much of a bastardized language, what are you using it for, girl? You know what I mean? Like, if it's the way that she describes, and maybe it is, I don't know. Technically, maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know. I don't particularly care. What I would say is English is a language that, if you don't know, you are behind the eight ball. Let's put it that way. You are struggling to have your voice heard. You are struggling to communicate. You're struggling to get your views, your opinions, your points across to people. Um, so, you know, English, as much as people may not like it, maybe including this young Maori lady. I assume she's a young Maori lady, or an older Maori lady that was speaking in Parliament House. Good on her for having the courage to speak her mind. Probably need more of that. Maybe that's the sort of person that you were talking about, Stuart McAdam. Those that are honest, come out, speak their mind, don't get voted for. Maybe she's an example of that. I don't know. Um, and maybe some people just got their feelings hurt that their language was referred to as a bastardized language. And I suppose fair enough too. I mean, the old saying, sticks and stones may break your bones or may break my bones, but names will never. Like, names clearly hurt people. We see it all the time. Names hurt people. You see it in your everyday life. And if you don't, well, lucky for you. But people get hurt by names all the time. People become defensive. People get upset. People cry. People become violent, all through name calling and or looking to tear down somebody's belief system, value set, who they are, how they look, how they sound, or combination of all of those things. When people throw stones and and those stones are in the form of words and name calling, or what's the words? Degrading somebody's, in this case, potential language, people are going to get upset. People are going to come out swinging. People are going to come back with their retort or their response and their rebuttal, whatever the terms are, to counter what has been thrown at their face and made them feel the way that they feel. And so I could imagine that that lady's comments probably upset a few people. Likewise, it would, I have no doubt I'd be seeing it blasting on my interwebs and my feeds everywhere if somebody came out, and there have been people coming out and have spoken about the Maori language as being obsolete. There have been, like, for me personally, that never, when I heard that, it didn't, I didn't get overly upset about it. Not because I think Maori language is obsolete. I just thought to myself, well, those people, they're probably struggling to rub a couple of brain cells together and they're saying what they're saying. So it is what it is. Like, Maori language, as long as there are still Maori people around and or people with Maori heritage who look to preserve their language and part of their culture and belief systems, values, etc., the Maori language is still going to be around, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I can see. It may not be as prevalent as the English language is used, but it's still going to be around. And so I don't think Maori people need to be upset or become overly defensive in and around comments that potentially some person who has their own belief, whether they're ignorant or otherwise, whether they're retarded or otherwise, really makes no difference. Like, are the comments of that person talking about te reo Māori and the Māori language being obsolete and that there's no purpose or point to it, is that really going to affect whether or not Māori language is still here in another 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 50 years, 100 years. I don't know. Is it worth wasting bandwidth and time and getting all upset about it? Again, I don't know. For some people, though, it probably is. And I know that there were some um, responses from people, some very, let's just say, hearty responses from people. And fair enough. And likewise, there'd probably be some hearty responses in regards to the English language in terms of what this lady has spoken about or put across in terms of her views. Right or wrong, there's just some things in this world that just don't really need, we really don't need to be wasting our time on when there's bigger things at hand. How about we put that time and energy rather than worrying about a bastardized language or worrying about a language that we think or that somebody thinks is going to be obsolete or that is already obsolete? How about we look at and do something about the homeless situation? We want to do something good. We've got a whole bunch of marae around Aotearoa, New Zealand. I don't know how many we have. I don't know the capacity or capabilities of each of those marae. Some marae are bigger and more, I want to say, robust or well set up infrastructure wise than others. Like that's just a reality. Others are very small, very humble, and don't have a lot of, I guess, other amenities or infrastructure attached to them. Could there be a way for Maori people to support, regardless whether people are Maori or not, homeless people? Is there a way whereby marae, because they're not being used 24/7, they're not being, unless it's for special events or tangihana, that sort of stuff, sad passings, or maybe potentially sometimes celebrations or family reunions, they're not really being occupied constantly throughout the year, from my understanding anyway. I could be wrong on that. They sit there and they're used for specific purposes or certain events, some celebratory, some remembrance, and those things that I've just spoken about already. Could those, if they're used for such sacred and good purposes, could another purpose of those services, of those marae, of the land in and around and on surrounding those, could they be utilized for large periods of time, temporarily, in different parts of Aotearoa, just an idea, to provide safe, warm accommodation to those that are doing it hard, living out on the street? With, in return, those people, maybe they do some service. They do the gardens of the marae and the surrounding areas. They do the weeding. They help with the maintenance of the wharenui, of the blanket wharekai, of other amenities and stuff in and around the marae. Because there are some marae, if not all marae, that the buildings could do with some TLC, and iwi and iwi members and that sort of stuff. Which is a good thing. Typically, we'll get volunteers from the iwi to come and help out with that stuff, which is great. But could that be used in a way to foster and strengthen community? Could that be used in a way to bring people together, help your fellow man, help somebody else in a time of need? The maraes typically have, like I said, the wharekai, or the places where food and stuff can be prepared and cooked. Could those individuals that may be struggling and doing it hard and who are trying to find a way out of the ruts that they're in to get off the streets, could they, aside from providing a potentially a safe and warm place for them and then providing some service and work back, could they be learning skills within that environment? Could they be learning how to cook? Could they cook for each other? Could they find other ways to provide service, all as part of the multiple marae around Aotearoa, New Zealand, which are good places, sacred places used for certain events and things, to host certain events, etc., etc. But they're not used a large majority of the time, based on what I know. Some marae may be used more frequently than others, so there may be some standouts which bringing in homeless people to support them and upskill them, feed them, look after them, and then reciprocating that with some sort of service as best they can. It might not be suitable for some marae. But that's just one option. What other options do we have in and around our communities in these environments that we have? There's a whole bunch of homes down in Christchurch in the CBD, which is like a ghost town because those that own those properties and those units or those apartments, whatever they're called, are specifically Airbnbs. Like they are hardly used. Could there potentially be a way to utilize this ghost town and these dozens of vacant properties, which are vacant vast amounts of time of the year, and working in collaboration with the government somehow for those owners to receive some sort of subsidy so that homeless people might have a safe place, a warm place to be protected from, to get back on their feet. Agreements, security, property management checks, all that sort of stuff, obviously I think would need to be a part of that. But I don't know, thinking, are these things even considered? Do people think and or get other people in to get different thoughts or opinions or ideas to start, dare I say, branching outside the scope of conventional thinking and go outside the box or whatever? Not that I think that what I'm talking about here is outside the box. I'd like to think that people have probably already thought about, potentially even discussed some of the things that I've just mentioned here, like to do with homelessness and use of marae and land, use of vacant, large numbers of vacant Airbnb properties or homes in certain areas that could potentially provide some relief to individuals. Could you then wrap around a mechanism of support from an education and upskilling perspective so that those individuals can be more employable, if that's the case? Um, I just, that there's probably people out there with bigger brains than mine, much smarter people, as I spoke about in the other live last night. Get the Jordan Petersons of the world or the Simon Sinek's of the world, get the Bill Besticks of the world, people, even people like Joe Rogan, like super intelligent guy from what I've seen. He does some research, does his reading. People that love to read, the Andrew Hubermans of the world, and whoever else these other brainy and clever people are, and just blink and think tank and talk about ways, and then look to try to implement them. Look to take action. All well and good to sit around and talk about ideas, but blink and whoever has the ability to then take action and implement those things, then do it. Maybe it's just one marae needs to start. Hey, yeah, we could potentially do that. We got some homelessness issues here in Korero. How many homeless people have we got on the street here in Korero? I don't know. How many marae have we got here in the Korero area? I know of at least a couple. Could we house, I don't know what the numbers are. Could we put up some of these people over a few consecutive nights? They have access to the showers, they have access to some food. We can teach them some things. They can render some service. All right, I don't know, man. It's just, to me, there seems like there's plenty of solutions to stuff. If we sit around, I don't want to just sit around and talk about the ideas. I'm talking about people that are in positions that are being paid to come up with ideas and solutions, govern and run this country. Like, get those people that you're paying to do this stuff and blank and start, 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 implement stuff to make things happen. Solutions focused. Like, get the ideas from here out the mouth and then into action on the ground. What have we got here? Fitzsimmons, for honesty. Oh, hang on, here we go. Failing to address. I think I read that one. Stuart, for honesty, NZ wise, Jeanette Fitzsimmons, okay, and Jamie Strange, maybe one of the last old school Labour MPs New Zealand has had. Jimmy Carter internationally. Okay, so I think that's in regards to your earlier comment when I was asking. Thanks for sending through these examples too, Stuart, about those that are honest usually don't get voted for, and are honest, no one votes for them. So thanks for those examples that you've shared. Again, I don't know those people, but I've heard the name Jimmy Carter, but I don't know Jeanette Fitzsimmons and or Jamie Strange. It's my first time reading and seeing those names, so thanks for that. Fitzsimmons genuinely believed in what she spoke about, e.g., you can't have infinite growth on a finite planet. Okay, yeah, that just sounds like common sense to me. You can't have infinite growth on a finite planet. Greenhouse gas emissions are bad. A refusal on genetic engineering. Yeah, greenhouse gas emissions, yeah, I don't know what's going on in that space, but clearly there's been a whole big hoo-ha and uproar around that sort of stuff for the longest period of time. And we see glimpses and snippets of that with regards to the what is called, where all the ice and stuff is. Is it Antarctica in terms of, or wherever all the ice caps and all that sort of stuff are supposedly melting and stuff. Anyway, I say supposedly. I don't say that to be disrespectful. I think we see footage and images and stuff of that sort of thing, but we probably don't see even a quarter of it. I would imagine. And how much impact global warming and all that sort of stuff, I guess, is having on our planet. And then you've got here a refusal on genetic engineering. Genetic engineering, a refusal on it. I don't know what's been happening in the genetic engineering space, but as I sit here and think about that, I think to myself in terms of potential, well, from an ethical perspective, but also from a potential value that it could add. I think there is potential for it to add value to people's lives in terms of quality of living, not necessarily trying to live forever like that blinking billionaire that is on that trying to never die project or whatever it is that he's on. He takes a blinking bazillion pills and stuff every day. What's his name? Brian something. I think it's Brian. Anyway, people know who it is that I'm talking about if they ever come across this. He's the real pasty white fella. That's what he looks like to me. He sticks to this routine that he has and invested billions and billions of dollars and trying to not die. I think, bro, you're gonna die. I don't care how much money you've got. I don't care how much you try to eat the right things, how much exercise you do, how many pills you take, how many blood transfusions you decide to give yourself or whatever. Like, you're gonna die, bruh. Like, the sooner you wake up to that reality and live your life potentially more fully, and not restrict and limit yourself to the things that you're doing, unless he's genuinely happy doing those things, genuinely happy popping, blinking a bazillion pills a day, etc., and doing the things that he does, going to bed at blinking whatever time he goes to bed and getting up early and doing his things. He's got his routine, which is cool, nothing wrong with that. If he's happy doing that and that's his jam, then all well and good. But don't for a second think that you're not dying, bro. You are gonna die. So the sooner you accept that, maybe you might broaden your horizons to doing other things. But anyway, I digress from this comment here. I think genetic engineering, depending on what the types of genetic engineering has been used for, I genuinely personally think that there is value to that. As an example, if there's an ability to genetically create organs that people need so that they can just live again and be around longer for their children, grandchildren, their spouse, whatever, like replacing the liver or lung or blinking whatever the thing may be, kidneys, etc., and that and it can be done well, and it get to the stage. What's that bloody movie with Matt Damon? The one where he ends up in the bloody cyborg suits and brain. He dies in the end, so spoiler alert. And then he goes up. They got to try to get to bloody, I don't know what you call it, another colony off planet Earth. Anyway, that movie. And then they lie in those machines, and it goes around, does its thing, and then it heals the person with any of the ailments and stuff or sicknesses or disease that they have. Like, if you could have things like that, which can improve the quality of living or life, if you could get rid of I don't know whether it's, I think it's called a disease, that motor neuron disease, for people who just slowly, it's, from what I understand, it just seems like a slow death. They just slowly start to lose more and more function, lose the ability to speak. Their autoimmune system just blink and degrades. Their central nervous system just stops functioning, to the point whereby, as we sleep, we just automatically breathe. That's just going to carry on for us, to the point whereby their body just shuts down and they stop breathing, if that's the right disease that I'm thinking of. But imagine having technology or an ability to be able to prevent that, or cure it if it did happen. So for the benefit and welfare of the individual, but also for the family members and loved ones, I think there's, if that sort of stuff, depending on what it was being used for, I think there's that would be worth considering or having a look at. Um, yeah, and just being transparent about what that would be used for. If it's being used to create blinking mutants, then yeah, no, that's bloody rubbish. What's this? For context, I'm about 70% conservative, 20% libertarian, and 10% liberal. Okay, so disagreed a lot with her, but always admired that she always answered questions honestly and without hiding true intentions. That's cool, man. Thanks for sharing that, Stuart McAdam, with regards to Fitzsimmons, Jeanette. And that's a testament to her. Obviously, she didn't get voted in. It sounds like, and you've given context, you disagreed a lot. So maybe it wasn't so much, this is just my take, Stuart, as I read this comment of yours that you've got here. Maybe it wasn't so much because she was honest, or maybe it was because she was honest, but maybe it was just people just disagreed a lot with her. Like you've mentioned here, you disagreed a lot with her. Um, so maybe even though a large number of people clearly, if she didn't get voted in, the majority disagreed with her and her policies and or her opinions, uh, it, that may have been why she didn't get voted in, not necessarily because she was honest and people don't vote for honesty. I think, man, I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked and surprised if maybe we haven't done ourselves any favors by seemingly, it seems like we're not really using our votes or casting our votes as wisely as what we can, could, or should. Not everybody. I'm just talking, maybe a handful of people. So maybe we haven't done ourselves any favors in terms of how we vote. But I think to your comment earlier, possibly, maybe Jeanette just, it wasn't the fact that she was honest why she wasn't voted, and maybe it's just people just didn't like her policies. They just didn't like where her head was at, where she was going with it, what she thought, and so because of that, they just went, "Yeah, thanks for being honest, but yeah, bug you, we don't agree with that, so we're not voting for you." So maybe, but I really like your forthright link and transparency in terms of who you are, your makeup, in terms of where you stand, conservative, libertarian, liberal, etc. Oh, you got another one. Better get back to work, Joe. Thanks heaps for another round of great chat. Thank you. You have been, looks like, the main person on here with a couple of visitors, one right at the start, and then DMC in the middle there. So I've definitely enjoyed. If you come back and see this later on, Stuart, thank you very much, mate, for stopping by, for the things that you've outlined and the responses that you gave and the people, the examples that you've given. So I would still, though, from my perspective, in relation to what you've shared here, I'd still think, I like to believe that people here in NZ or in any country would admire a politician coming in who speaks openly and honestly, who says what's on their mind, who has the courage to say what's on their mind, who has the courage to challenge the status quo with regards to what has always been done. So we should continue doing that same thing, i.e., immigration and non-citizens being allowed to vote. Like somebody, and it looks like Dad's Army, old Uncle Winston and co, old Chubby Cheeks Jones, and them in there. It looks like they are going to be pushing for it to just be citizens. Does that get them into power? Will that change anything? I don't know. I mean, because what's the rest of their policies like? What runs and track record do they have? What credits do they have in the bank um, to show, excuse me and or the New Zealand public why they should get my vote or our vote? And I don't know. Like I haven't done enough research and looking into it, and so I've clearly got to do a lot more, which I get and will be doing. But it's just, yeah, I can't think of anybody aside from the name New Zealand First that they have. It's a good name. I think it's a good name. Like I said, One Nation I think is also a good name. It's not. It doesn't sound uh, divided. It sounds united. to me, both of those names. And New Zealand first, if anything, it sounds like it's thinking of New Zealanders first, which is what you'd like to expect and or think a government that's been put in charge is doing. Um, yeah, so that's my brain dump. That's my 2 cents. And Connect, it veered well away from the original piss take I was looking to do on this video. But I'm glad. I'm actually glad about that. Gave me a lot more to think about. Gave me some answers to comments that were put in here, and Stuart taking the time. So quickly, she was the first co-leader of the Green Party of Aotearoa New Zealand. Oh, okay. Hey, you came back. Thanks for that, Stuart. Yeah, I had no idea, but that's good reference. Jeanette Fitzsimmons, Jamie Strange. Interesting. Old school Labour MPs New Zealand has had. Interesting. Jeanette Fitzsimmons and Jamie Strange. We'll have to probably have a look and at least get a visual of what they look like in my head to go along with these names. But appreciate you, Stuart, once again, and anybody else stopping by. There may be some other people that might comment later on. Can't actually see. Where are we? There it is. Surprising. It's showing, well, as I look at it, it's showing that there's 4 people on this live. I was surprised that there was even one, but I'm usually, actually, I'm probably not so surprised now. I'm probably just more grateful. Always been grateful when there have been people show up on the live, but yeah, probably maybe less surprised now. I think to myself, coming in, oh, yeah, there's probably bound to be one person coming into the live now. So whereas I've gone from thinking, oh, there's probably going to be nobody, which is fine with me, to now I'm probably at a stage thinking, oh, there's bound to be probably one person that will pop up, even when I least expect it, even on a midday, or even when I started this, when it was around about midday on Thursday, the 13th of August. So, but I'll leave that there. Near under 2 hours, so that's a short one for me. Hour 41 minutes. I'll probably have a bit of a break, do a couple more reaction videos, finish editing the ones that I've done prior to doing this live, upload, schedule those, and yeah, do some research for some other bits and pieces in relation to my own understanding from a political landscape perspective. Just trying to get a better idea. So we'll see who I may or may not be voting for come election time nearing the end of this year. Like I said, if I get to the stage where I'm comfortable enough with what I've learnt and or my limited understanding, because it will still be limited in a few months' time, of the political landscape and in particular the political party that I may be interested in voting for or casting my vote towards, or people within that party, and then I'll share it on a video or probably on a live, just quicker and easier. It'll probably be met with animosity and blank and disappointment. No doubt, from certain people that may or may not follow, or maybe it might lead to new followers, new subscribers of the channel. Go, whoa, he's seen the light. Who knows? One thing I'm sure of, there will be people on both sides, either for and or against, if I'm at a stage where I'm comfortable enough to vote for somebody. At this stage, I can't say personally that there's anybody that I'm particularly leaning towards and or looking at voting for based on what I know about them so far. And because of that, if I'm still in the same place, I probably won't be voting at the end of this year. And so it'll probably be another 3 years before I have an opportunity to vote again, if that's how the system works here in NZ. And if that's the case, I don't think my one vote is going to be that detrimental to the bigger scheme of things anyway. So we'll see how we go in a few months' time, and then indeed down the track. By that stage, like I mentioned in the live, I think last night and early hours this morning, I should at least have a slightly better understanding of how politics roll in NZ, and hopefully who some of the politicians are in different parties. Pretty sure David Seymour is ACT. Oh, Uncle Winston is blanking Dad's Army, New Zealand First. Luxtard is National. Hipkins is Labour. So I'm further, what's his name? Shubs calls him Uncle Horny, Big Papa Horny as Te Pāti Māori, I think. The Greens, I don't know who the Greens leader is, but I think I think it's that Swarbrick. I keep thinking girl because she looks just like a young girl. It's the Swarbrick young lady. Look at that. There's 6 there. I don't know how many other parties there are, but yeah, or if I'm even on the right track. Those are the names that are sort of at the forefront of my head anyway. Whether that's right or wrong, people can correct me and go, "Yeah, bloody clown, you got none of them right." Yeah, so hopefully where I was going with that is in a few years I'll have a better understanding, and we'll see in terms of potential content of what's on this channel by that time in another 3 years time anyway. But I still intend to do military reaction videos, probably for the most part, stuff to do with terrorism when those suggestions get sent through to me, and probably political stuff as it comes up and as I take more of an interest in looking into it. So yeah, if you stuck around this long, if you've followed me from the start or you're new here, thank you very much for your time. If you are new here, actually, I should mention this in a separate video. Maybe I'll do it in my lives. I had a look. I discovered the analytics part in my YouTube studio the other day. When a video popped up on my screen and it showed and talked about, I think it was the video was the Diary of a CEO guy, that host, I forget his name, but people know that podcast, big popular podcast, Diary of a CEO. He was talking in a clip that I saw where he's talking to people that go to his channel or his podcast, and he said there was something ridiculous, like the number for his, I think he said it was something like 80 something percent of people that watch his podcast are not subscribed or weren't subscribed to his channel. And I thought, that's crazy. How does he know that? And then I guess on the back end of me watching that, I've had other videos pop up and it's talked about YouTube analytics and YouTube Studio and utilizing that to get an understanding of your audience, and I think the watch times, and where some of your videos, you can go into the videos and see where people drop off, etc. That stuff doesn't really interest me in terms of delving into that sort of detail. But what I did see, I did click on the analytics and did click on audience. And so it gives me a bit of a snapshot in terms of where my audiences come from, largely New Zealand and Australia. And then next was UK. Fourth was US, actually, which was interesting. And then a whole bunch of other countries with small numbers or amounts of people from those different countries. They probably just accidentally clicked on one of my videos by accident. But the other part that I saw in there was the piece that spoke about those who watch and are subscribed, and those who watch but are not subscribed. And on mine, it wasn't anything like 80%, but it was 52% of my audience not subscribed to my channel. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And so I don't know if that works on, if that's 50% of what my current numbers are in terms of subscriptions for my channel, or if that's just, yeah, I don't know what the metric is based on. I haven't delved any further than that. But when I saw that number, and I thought, wow, 52% of the audience who watch my content are not followers or subscribers. And so where I was going with the Diary of a CEO guy, the video that I saw, he's on there talking and asking people. And I've had comments like this, and I think I shared in another live a few lives ago, comments that come through, people saying that they've seen other people on their lives, and or in the Diary of a CEO case, they have it injected as I want to say ads in the interviews that they do, reminding people, saying, hey, if you're enjoying this content, I'd ask you to, or words to the effect of, basically, I'd ask you to consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, or just liking and subscribing, or just subscribing to the channel, and that it helps out more than they realize. So, yeah, taking that on board, that's probably something I need to get better at doing in terms of asking people. I think I try to do that with the reaction videos that I do, with just having the little, dare I say, little logo, for want of a better term, in the middle of my reaction videos lately, with the little subscribe underneath. I get it, it's not that big and bold and in your face, but I think it's subtle enough that if people want to subscribe, that they will. But maybe it doesn't help. sorry, maybe it can't hurt is what I should say if I ask people. So if you are new here, long-winded story, but I needed to give you context so that you know where it came from. If you are new here and if you haven't subscribed, or if you are a regular here and you haven't subscribed, then I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Don't get pissed off or annoyed if you see me asking that more regularly. It's probably, I guess, if that's the thing to do, and if it actually works, which it seems like it is based on some of the other stuff that I then went on a little bit of a rabbit hole down and had a look at, and other YouTube guru experts talking about how to improve engagement and just simply ask. And I think there's some value to that. There's no, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody watching my video who I don't know and will likely never speak to goes, yeah, nah. But at least if I ask, I've at least maybe planted the seed, and maybe some of those 52% that watch my content but have not subscribed for whatever reason, maybe they might go, oh yeah, well, cost me nothing. It's not, I'm watching this stuff anyway from time to time. I might as well subscribe, and then it helps in whatever way it helps. I'm pretty sure it helps with the algorithm. I'm sure it helps from eventually an ad revenue perspective. I have no doubt it will help with that perspective. So it's not like people are needing to fork out of their own pocket to support this little space. So anyway, if you want to, if you're new here, KR Queer, over to you. Feel free to like and subscribe, and come back and engage in any conversations if you want. Ask questions, unless you're a retard. So then if you are just a twat and an idiot, then don't bother coming. Like, take your subscription, take your like and blink and jam it up your backside, and don't worry about coming back here, because we don't need you. I don't need you here. But if you're okay, or if you are a retard and you're an idiot, but you still want to subscribe and do that anyway, well, that's why you're a retard. Nothing I can do about that. But if you're a good person and you're here for some laughs, and or you have relevant things to say, particularly in regards to reaction videos and stuff that I do, or in these conversations when I run a live and that sort of thing, then no mai, hoki mai, no mai, hara mai, welcome back or welcome here, and have your say. So anyway, look after yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening. For those of you that might be working late into the early hours of the morning, like old mate that sent me through and watched my live during his break in the early hours this morning, and then finished off listening to it on their way home or after work, it seems, then thank you very much. Look after yourselves, and you'll see me on the next one. Ka keeps peeps. Thank you to the 1 or 2 people that stopped by. There's an end.